Good. How are you?
Great. So what do you want to talk about?
Um, I just gone through a lot of stuff in my life, and recently my best friend passed away. It was 2 years ago, and I was actually on the southeastern campus visiting my sister. And a few weeks before I'd left, we had actually gotten in a fight, and we weren't talking. And I was visiting my sister, like I said, and on like the third night, or day actually, because it was lunch, my sister got a phone call from my mom, and she went to the bathroom to take it. She was in the cafeteria, and all of a sudden she had to get me back to the room really fast, and I didn't know what was going on. I didn't know who was on the phone. So she got me back to our room, and my mom called me, and she told me that Molly was in a car accident, and she died instantly along with her father. And it was the night before, and the only reason she was calling me like this was because my other best friend, we were this little group, and she found out too, and she was afraid that she was going to call. So my mom called me, and I just dropped to the floor bawling, and I couldn't control myself. And after that, I slipped into a really big depression because I knew it wasn't my fault, but I felt like I had some part to blame in it for some reason. I know I was 3,000 miles removed, but it still felt like it was my fault just from the way that we ended it, that we were in a fight. The last words I said to her were, "I hate you, I never want to talk to you again," because we were teenagers, 17 years old, and we just were drama queens, and that's what we said. And it took me a really long time to forgive myself for that, because I don't know, I've always wanted to just see her one more time, because I feel like she didn't know how much I loved her when she died. I feel like she died thinking that I hated her. And I was starting to get better, and then a few months later I saw her little sister, and I went to her and tried to give her a hug, and she wouldn't hug me, which was really odd because she'd always been like my little sister. I knew Molly from when we were 4 years old.
How old is her little sister?
She's 2 years younger than her, so
Okay.
She was a baby when I met her, so I've known her for the majority of her life. And she wouldn't give me a hug, and I tried to figure out what was wrong, and all she would say was, "If my sister's in hell, it's because of you." And that was because Molly and I met through our church, and when we got into our fight, she stopped coming to church. And it was only for a little while, but her sister viewed that as her not being a Christian anymore, and maybe not being in heaven. And I know that she was just looking for an outlet to blame, but that struck a really big chord with me, and I slipped into a chronic depressive state, and it probably went on for about a year, that my parents got really nervous and worried about me. They talked about actually getting me formal counseling. They talked about a lot of things because I just wasn't snapping out of it, and it took a really long time to get there. And even now, the anniversary of her death, I slip into that state. Last year was a really hard year because I actually ended up living in the dorm that I found out that she was killed in somehow. It was not out of all the dorms, I ended up living in that dorm. So I slipped into a depressive state again, and for about a week I was like that, and I finally snapped out of it. But it's scary that it's so reoccurring, that I don't want it to happen every year. I don't want in a few months for me to be living here and go into that state just because it's the anniversary of her death. As much as I think I've come to peace with it, I really don't think that I have all the way, obviously, because it's still affecting me. But yeah, that's why I'm here, because I need help with this.
Okay. You said that you are now in the dorm that you were in when you found out about it. Are you in the same room, or is it?
My sister lived in South Point, and
Okay.
I ended up living in South Point, and I don't live in the actual dorm room, but I live in the room right next to it. And
Okay.
I can remember every time I walked up those stairs, I remembered it was raining that day, and I was just sitting on the stairs literally bawling and calling my youth pastor and my other best friend Emily and my dad, and so every time I would walk up those stairs or walk under the stairwell where I was calling my dad, I just kept getting flashbacks of that same thing.
Right. So when you were here visiting your sister, was she a freshman here at college? Okay.
She was a freshman.
How long did your fight last before before her death?
It started out actually, there was little seedlings of this fight that probably happened a few months in advance, but it didn't really erupt until probably 6 weeks before I came, and that's when we got in this huge argument. I think another thing that just kind of made it worse was that she had done something that was not a very nice, friendly thing to do, and she was begging for my apology, and I wouldn't give it to her because I was so mad, and that's when I said it. So on top of me saying my last words to her were, "I hate you," it was the fact that I didn't forgive her.
When was it that you said that? Was that the 6 weeks before?
Mhm.
Okay, so you hadn't spoken to her in 6 weeks. Oh, okay.
And we went to the same middle school and same church. Well, like I said, she stopped coming to church, but yeah.
So she wasn't at church for those 6 weeks.
She stopped when we started having mini fights to lead up to the big one, because what had happened a few months in advance, and I'd always kind of tried to let it roll off my shoulders, and it never really did. So we'd get in these mini fights. So a few months she started slowly not coming to church as much, and then by the time we had a huge fight, she wasn't coming at all.
Okay. All right, well, we are about out of time today, but when you come back next time, we will talk more about this.
Okay, thank you very much.
No problem.